Everyone has a story. These are the ones that shape the people whose leadership has shaped me. I'm Robert, and this is Concrete Conversations. In this podcast, I sit down with people whose leadership has shaped me, whether personally or professionally, and ask them 5 questions. It's a simple format with real stories, and each answer is 3 minutes or less. Today's guest is Cierra Belser-Johnson. She's the founder of Enspire Executive Solutions. She's also the Alabama Regional Manager of NextOp, a nonprofit that equips veterans to successfully transition into civilian careers by bridging their military experience with employers who value their leadership. Cierra leads with clarity, purpose, and compassion. She's taught me a lot about showing up with authenticity, speaking truth with care, and staying grounded in who you are, even when that's not easy. Whether she knows it or not, Cierra has shaped how I think, live, and lead. Let's get to the conversation. Cierra, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Let's jump right into the questions. What core leadership principles guide you, and how did they discover you?
A core leadership principle that guides me is just being an authentic leader. I am who I am. I am authentic in the things that I do and I say. And I think that that's an important quality to have as a leader. My leadership style is me. I have learned from some great leaders along the way, most definitely, that have helped shaped me to be the leader that I am today. But at the end of the day, my leadership is my own, and I own.
So how do you stay authentic in a world and in a business side of things where authentic isn't always the standard operating procedure? How do you stay true to who you are as a person?
It actually comes quite easy. Either you're going to love me or you're going to hate me. And we probably have
Right.
some mutual people that we know that probably still hate me, but that's fine.
We also have people that love you, so let's
And I
be
appreciate
balanced.
that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I am just very grounded in the person that I am and how I show up. That hasn't always been the case. I have
Sure.
taken some years to really perfect this, but at the end of the day, I need to be happy with how I showed up. And it's not about making others happy; it's about making yourself happy. And I know that I am a very intentional person. Showing up the way that I am is just the best that I can be. I've had to learn over the years that either you're going to take it or you can leave it. But this is who I am.
There's freedom in that when you let yourself go just to be who you are. Yeah, I can. Yeah, from outwardly looking at you, I totally understand and have worked with you and seen that you are just Cierra, good, bad, whatever you want to take it. And yep, I see that. Well, let's move on to my favorite question, probably, and be as open as you feel comfortable. What is your biggest failure, either professionally or personally? Define that failure, and then share some lessons that you learned from it.
Of course, in life, failure is inevitable. I've had a lot of them, both professionally and
Right.
personally. But probably the biggest failure that comes to mind is probably my divorce several years ago. I had to look inward, but also realize that it takes two to make a marriage work.
Sure.
Of course, there are always things that we think back on that we know we could have done better or showed up in a better space. But at the end of the day, he made choices that were just not choices that I knew that I could live with long term. And it affected our entire family. But I think the biggest failure for me was carrying that guilt for as long as I did. Carrying that guilt as a single mother and overcompensating in a lot of ways for kids that at the end of the day, they were happier with us being apart than they ever were with us being together. And kids are kids. They are so resilient. And I think as adults, we carry so much and think that some of the smallest things are just going to send our kids straight to therapy, right? But at the end of the day, my kids almost helped me get through the divorce, if that makes any sense. And then
Sure.
also a great relationship with my therapist helped me to really, really talk through a lot of the things and almost have that number one closure that I needed, but two, that third party that let me know that no, you probably stayed around a lot longer than most people would have dealing with the things that you dealt with. Yes, there were some things that you could have handled better, but there was a lot of things that probably would have sent a lot of people running. And to let me know that, I did the best that I could in that situation. And then now that I have moved on to a much better relationship and a happier situation, you take those lessons that you learned from the past and you make sure you don't repeat them in the future.
If you could distill it down into one lesson, what would you say you learned from your divorce and that whole process of healing and building your life the way you want it now?
You can't change a person.
Mm.
I tend to see the potential in people that people don't see in themselves, and trying to force them to live up to the potential that I see is never going to work. They have to want it and see it for themselves. And so it has taken me several years to not only just learn that in marriage, but just in relationships and friendships and professional relationships, that, a person is who they are. And once they show you once, then that's all you need. And so, and having to learn how to either continue on that relationship with them, no matter what situation I'm in, or to let that person go, has probably been one of the biggest lessons in life, but the most helpful lesson in life.
People show you who they are, believe them. That is something I live by as well. If you could talk to 25-year-old Cierra and sit her down and give her a 3-minute pep talk, warning, or piece of advice, what would that be?
First of all, 25-year-old Cierra needed to take a deep breath and just say woo-saw. You do not have to have your entire life figured out at 25. Your 20s are for making those mistakes and learning from them. Your 30s are for really figuring out the woman that you're going to be. I think women, especially young women, we fall into, after graduation, you're supposed to get married. And then after you get married, you're supposed to have kids. And we fall into this cycle that society has kind of laid out for us. One of the proudest things I am about this generation of young women that we have now is they're just like, forget what society thinks. I'm going to live my own life. And I kind of wish I had that instilled in me early on, step by step by step. And when those steps didn't work out, I was sitting there just dumbfounded. Like, but this is what society told me I was supposed to do. And why is it not working? So I spent a lot of my time trying to figure out who I was without a title. I come from a pageant world. So for the longest, I was Miss whatever. And then I went from that to being someone's wife. And then after that, I went to being someone's mom. I didn't figure out who Cierra was until I was probably about 34, 35. This 25-year-old Cierra does not have to have her life figured out. And I wish I would have had someone to sit there and to tell me that 25 years ago, so I didn't have to spend the next 10 trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing as an adult. It's okay to just be 25-year-old Cierra and be the best 25-year-old Cierra you can be, right? I think I shared this with you earlier. That's sort of the answer I'm getting from a lot of people is it's okay to just be me. It's okay to be 25-year-old me. I don't have to have 40-year-old Cierra figured out or 45-year-old Cierra 50. Just show up, show out, repeat, and worry about that. And that'll get me where I want to be. That's a really good answer. So now we move on to Cierra in 25 years. What question would you want to ask her? And I think more importantly, what would you want the answer to be? So 25 years from now, I will be sitting on someone's island. I'm sitting there drinking my Mai Tais. I want to look back and say, did I leave my mark? Did I leave my legacy? And what does that legacy look like? As you and I have talked about before, I have definitely left my mark no matter where I have been. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you leave a company and 3 or 4 years ago, you're still coming up in conversations, then you left your mark. Mission accomplished. Mission has been accomplished. So I want to be proud of the work that I have done. Did I stay true to Cierra? Did I follow my passion, and did I leave my impact? And I definitely feel like my trajectory right now is leading in that direction. And I have no intention of leaving from that path. I think I have found my purpose, and I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know why God put me. Well, I can't let you say that without asking, what is your purpose? What is your passion? Why are you here? I am here to make a difference for all of God's people. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is very, very important to me, and it always has been. And even though the path right now is a little bit more difficult than it used to be, I am still moving forward, and I'm still helping companies move forward with their missions because it's important. It is important that we learn how to think outside of ourselves and our own comforts and be inclusive to others. I love that answer. I love that. That's a way to think. I'll get into a little bit about that a little bit later. Well, let's learn a little bit about you as a person. What's a unique, quirky, or niche fact or hobby about Cierra that people don't know that you'd want them to know? Quirkiness. Cierra and quirky go together hand in hand. And I think that when you meet me at first and you see my professional appearance, you don't know what you don't know, but you know because you've seen me outside of work. I am into a little bit of everything. I love to cook. And so I listen to music when I cook. And if you look at someone's music portfolio, I think it tells you just about everything you need to know about that person. My music goes from house music to Afro beats to jazz to opera. I am completely obsessed with Billie Eilish. So Billie Eilish plays in the car 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I love music, but I think I love different types of music because I love different types of people. And I think that it's just true to who I am. And so I love life and I love experiencing things. I'll experience anything once, you know? I've joined a hiking group. I have started gardening and doing things in the yard. And just at first, you don't think I'm someone that likes to play in the dirt, but I actually do and be outside. My fiance is getting ready to run the Marine Corps marathon, and he's never run a marathon a day in his life. He and I went running yesterday, and he's going to teach me how to be a runner. So, just putting yourself out there and experiencing life for what it is and living your best day to your fullest that is me to my core.
Yeah, getting to know you, you come across very polished and very put together in a good way. And then you get to know you a little better, and you're like, no, this lady, she's a Renaissance woman. She knows a lot about everything. There's not a lot you can talk to her about where she just doesn't have a connection to it. And that's something I think, as someone who tries to be that myself, if I can connect with you on something, I can get to know you and kind of build a relationship. And I think you and I share that focus and that intention I want to be in a group of people and have something I can connect with everybody on. And certainly you have proven that that's the case in your music. As someone who's been in the car with you numerous times, been there, done that. You are absolutely right. It'll go from rap to Latin to dance music to some country to some top 40. You're absolutely right. Well, Cierra, I know how busy you are, and I appreciate your time. This is the part where I tell you how much I respect you. You are someone who has taught me so much about, as you said, valuing all of God's children and being where you are. And you don't have to have all the answers, but as long as you leave your mark and treat people the way that, we would want to be treated, no matter what they look like, sound like, talk like, you're someone that I just have a great amount of respect for because of your passion for that. I know DEI is a word that some people think is woke and bad, but I think when you boil it down to its intent, it's just that we want everybody to have an option to be seen and heard and valued. And you're someone who in our time together has lived that, you've led with that, and that your heart for that is one of the reasons that I just think the world of you. You've taught me so much in our times together. I think there are a lot of people out there that are going to see this and hopefully learn something from your journey and how you've done things and the mistakes you've made and the wins that you've gotten from those mistakes. And so I appreciate your answers. I appreciate your time. And I just hope you know as a person how much I value our relationship and our friendship. And you're one of my favorites. So I appreciate who you are and what you've done for me.
Well, thank you so much, Robert.
Well, that's where we'll end things today. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Cierra.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That's it. 5 questions with someone who's helped shape the way I think, live, and lead. These conversations, they're not about perfection, they're about perspective. And Cierra always brings her perspective with clarity and honesty to every conversation we have. What stayed with me the most about that, I would say it's her viewpoint that once people show you who they are, you can't change them, that people are going to live up to their potential on their own way. And that's a tough lesson for me. I really struggle with that. And it's nice to hear that someone else has been through that and has a better perspective on it than I do. Well, that's the conversation for today. If you got something out of this, I hope you'll share it, pass it along, post about it, or just start a conversation of your own. Thanks for making time for her voice. It's one that's helped shape mine. I can't wait to share the next conversation with you, but until then, be kind. It's important.